Shinies. By far one of the most enticing and shiny add-ons to RotMG Exalt. It's definitely one of the most anticipated and popular updates in RotMG's history. It's incredibly enjoyable to grind for them so far, and everyone, including myself, is very grateful that Deca added them. They, and the banger enchantments update, have dramatically improved the enjoyment of the game. However, there are still some things that hold Shinies back from perfection in my eyes. This video aims to discuss the current situation with Shinies in RotMG and to discuss possible solutions to existing problems with Shinies. First, let's start with the basics of Shinies. Shinies are basically already existing weapons and items in the game which have a different color than the original item. They are significantly rarer than the original items, and they are much more coveted and rare as a result, a huge flex. It's very similar to shiny Pokemon, for example. Although not every single item in the game has a shiny, Deca is releasing new shinies every single season, which is always an exciting topic for discussion, or controversial based on the quality of the shinies. In order to get a shiny to drop in-game, you have to be playing on a character that has seasonal status, crucible, or otherwise. Now, here's the thing. Shinies are by far one of the biggest motivators to play, aside from of course the events, missions, battle pass, and challenges like PBEs. As mentioned before, you have to be playing a seasonal character in order to get the shinies to drop. Since non-seasonal characters cannot get shinies, and because seasonal characters are reset back to non-seasonal at the end of each season, the possibility of missing out is always there. Now, this isn't inherently a problem, as this method of exclusivity is actually very common in the gaming industry. For example, imagine if two video games collab. If you want any of the collab items or to experience the exclusive collab events, you have to be playing during the event. If you miss it, then you miss it. Nothing's wrong with that. It's fair and encourages players to play during a certain time. That's why I don't believe Deca is doing it entirely wrong. But I believe they went wrong when it comes to the way that they make shinies exclusive. There is, from what I can tell, very little to zero incentive to play on a character that is not seasonal. This is because you cannot get shinies, you lose access to more than half of the missions, all the buffs and debuffs are unavailable, and almost everything else is not usable unless you do a new seasonal character. This leads to characters who are not seasonal getting devalued and ignored. This is a very common thing that can happen to anyone who plays this game, and to explain why it's a problem, consider this thought experiment. Imagine two groups of people who play Realm at the end of the season. The first group are people who have lost their characters close to the end of the season, and they are simply biding their time until the next season starts to get back on that shiny grind. This also includes people who have lost motivation to play in the season, or for whatever reason are just waiting for the next season. The second group of people are people who have not lost their characters and are still actively playing on them. This can include people who joined the season and started their characters late, and it can also include people who are enjoying Realm and actively playing it, but aren't only playing Realm, meaning that they still have goals to finish towards the end of the season. Think about what happens to both groups once a new season begins. The first group of people is excited to begin the new season and eagerly begins new characters to get on the grind. The second group of people, however, gets left behind, burdened by FOMO, basically losing all reason and incentive to play on their still existing characters because they lose access to seasonal and crucible missions, the buffs that come with those events, and most importantly, the shinies themselves. For instance, if they had a goal to get a shiny Lumiere, that goal would be impossible, and they lose reason to play on those characters, which, just think about it, would be very demotivating, right? The only way to rejoin the grind and to join the first group again is to drop any goals they already had, stop playing on their previous character, and start completely from scratch. Are you guys starting to see why this is a problem? I believe that Deca, by making shinies seasonal only, are attempting to create hype and excitement around the new seasons and encouraging players to play during the season so they don't miss out. But the way that they are doing it, in my opinion, is backstabbing themselves by undermining any motivation or reason to play that many people have. Obviously, their goal is to make people excited to play, but I think this is unfortunately doing the exact opposite. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I believe there's a very easy fix to this problem, one which I believe everyone would be happy with and wouldn't too drastically change the already existing status quo in the game. The solution I propose is that shinies should be able to drop on all characters of any kind, whether it's a non-seasonal, a seasonal, or a seasonal crucible. However, any person who is playing on a seasonal or a seasonal crucible character should have a significantly higher chance of getting them, any shinies, to fairly compensate for the increased difficulty of playing those characters. Although this may not fully fix the feelings of FOMO, at least it allows characters from previous seasons to still have a chance of getting the shinies that they want. And further, it gives the many non-seasonal characters just sitting in players' unused character slots some actual value and a genuine reason to be played again. It's in Deca's best interest because they get exclusivity without deterring players. Another small point about shinies, which I briefly hinted about earlier. Sometimes shinies can be controversial due to how good they actually are. Take a look at these shinies for example: Doombo, Crown, and Planewalker. All of these items have shiny variants, but as you can see, they are hardly different from the original. They're so similar that upon getting shiny Doombo for the first time, for example, I didn't even realize it was shiny for a while. When compared to other shinies in the game, these shinies are laughably low quality. Look at the shinies for Divinity, Color Sword, and Visage as a comparison. These shiny variants completely transform the feeling of these items, which, among other reasons, makes them some of the most desirable shinies in the game. The other shinies add only a very slight hue change to the original item, and they feel the exact same otherwise. This is a huge problem. I could literally make a better shiny with minimal effort, just slapping on a Canva color filter. Hopefully at some point the quality of these shinies can be improved. Ultimately though, this is only my opinion, and everyone has their own opinion on the quality of each shiny. Even if one is not as good as it could be for a person, at least they're in the game at all. Now that you guys have heard my opinion, I would like to know what you guys think of my thoughts below. Do you agree with me that shiny should be on more than just seasonal characters? Do you think that it should stay the way it is right now, or should it be something else completely different? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. Either way, this is just a wholesome, constructive discussion just to talk about something that I'm inspired about in the game. I am very, very happy with what Deca is doing right now. The enchantments, the upcoming Eternity Summit, and all the changes they're making are incredibly exciting, and I look forward to what they're doing. Discussions like these can help keep us occupied and excited until the time that those releases come. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my future discussion and other videos. Have a good one.